Welcome to Hindsight HacKing. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Poole.
Let's get it started.
On this podcast, we've hacked hundreds of entrepreneurs' hindsight to help you, the listener, with better foresight. Now, guys, if you want to know all about what we can do to help you focus on being you, head over to gethhm.com. Keep pushing through those ups and downs that we all will have.
We're still going to have amazing conversations with amazing people. Hindsight hacking boils down to amazing conversations with some amazing people. Everybody, welcome back to Hindsight Hacking, and today we are joined by a very special lady, the one, the only, Miss Cat Stancik. Now, if you're ready to toss out complicated, overly automated tech and funnels that are expensive and time-consuming to build, but never work as people told you they would, and honestly, make you want to tear your hair out. I love all of that. I had to read it line by line. So you're going to meet Cat today. We're going to talk about all that. She's going to share the simple and strategic approach to consistently fill your pipeline. We're going to talk about a couple of her programs, Lead Boss CEOs, if I remember that correctly off the top of my head, Action Incubator. I mean, we've got all kinds of fun stuff that we're going to get into today. Because if anybody listens to the show and likes Mission Impossible, you're going to want to head over to actionincubator.com right now. Actually, not right now, because you got to wait till the end of the show. You got to listen first. So, Kat, thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to chat today.
Thank you for having me. I super appreciate it. And really appreciate both of you showing up because, you never know if you're both going to be there or not. So
True. That is a true statement. But sometimes it's weird when we both show up sometimes. But anyway, no, it's good. We are super stoked to have you. And I can't really wait to get into it. But before we get too far into it, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself a little bit more, tell everybody a little bit more about your backstory.
Sure. So I was always successful and massively, recognized worldwide. So, there's not much struggle that I went through. So,
Sure.
Not much backstory there, but, fine. If I need to open up a fairy tale experience, let's go ahead and do that. All right. So, leaving the psychiatrist kind of couch experiences behind or on the side, if you will, because they're all there for every single one of us. If you think that someone has it all together, then you're probably looking at the wrong version of their story. So let's not pretend that we're all beautifully and amazingly capable. I went through my own little cocoon struggles to become the butterfly or the amazing person that I am. But really, a lot of my background came from living someone else's expectation, right? So what was it that someone else or we thought someone else wanted us to do? And that's kind of the path that I started living. So I, went to college and got my MBA and got a big, high corporate, fancy paying gig. And kind of the pot at the end of the rainbow wasn't the treasure that I was actually looking for, right? Yes, I was living a dream. Absolutely. There were so many benefits and so many things to be grateful, yet my soul was dying a little bit every single day. So I got out of the corporate grind by starting to open up the windows to opportunities. So many times people talk about doors of opportunities. Sometimes it's a little crack and I might end up cussing. So just go ahead and put that R warning on the podcast right now. Rated R. We're expert. We don't know what the fuck's going to happen. All right. So basically, I started working part-time in my business, so setting it up, getting the foundational components in place and transitioning out of my corporate gig. And I am super appreciative of everything that I have because, having high level clients, you go through a lot of experience, you manage hundreds of people and teams and things like that. You really get an understanding. And I think I went through what most entrepreneurs do, which is completely discrediting everything I learned, all of my achievements when I started down my entrepreneurial path. And just basically feeling like I was a newbie in the world. And really I invested really heavily right off the bat into my business, 20,000, 10,000, lots of commas in the things that I invested in and really never got that ROI. And essentially I came down to a place, $30,000 in debt. I had other debt in terms of college and an MBA and really looking at, I'm not making it. This isn't happening. And I really can't keep up this facade anymore. of pretending like things are going well and I've got this new client and all this other stuff. And I made another scary investment in my business when I absolutely thought I couldn't. And that's when everything turned around. It's how I went from having $14,000 years to $100,000 quarters. And it was really about establishing the foundational aspects of business that had never really been explained to me, particularly when it comes to organic lead generation. And so, kind of over time, as I learned from different people and gathered my own experiences, I created a path that is flexible for my clients to use, right? So, it's not this one size fits all. This is the only strategy that you'll ever be able to use. It's about saying, here's the buffet. Which of the pieces do you want to consume? And let's get to eating. I might be hungry. So that's where that analogy came from.
We're going to have a lot of food analogies, folks, today. So just get ready. All right.
Bad day for me to start fasting. Darn it.
I know. Luckily, your fasting doesn't start yet, right?
I know, it's great.
You got like one last meal before.
I do.
But Kat, let's talk about that a little bit as far as learning from others, transitioning to doing things that you really wanted to do versus what others wanted you to do. And who was your guidance? Who was the person or people that you started to really latch on to? And obviously they might be doing different things than what you do, but who are some of those people and kind of what was that process of learning? And just, to give you a reason why I'm asking that question, because Ron and I believe so much in keeping our minds sharp and learning, and not learning from just anybody and everybody, but having specific people to teach us specific things based on their expertise. So I love when I'm hearing people talking about their journey and learning. So just let us know.
Absolutely. So I first have to start with the people I shouldn't have. Right. So there's, especially in the entrepreneurial world, I think a lot of people kind of get this, but they don't get this until afterwards. For the most part, family members and friends are not safe, right? Like we want them to believe in us. We want them to be proud. We want them to celebrate us, which is why we kind of keep going for beatings and getting disappointed. As much as like my mom wants to be able to support me, she just doesn't get this world. And so for her example, it's safer for me to have a job than it is to be my own boss. And she absolutely supports me, but she doesn't celebrate me in the way that I receive because it's not the way that I want it. I want the fanfare. And if I went to my business best friend and said, hey, I did this, she'd be like, oh my God. I'd be like, yeah, right. Keep loving on me. And I tell my mom and she's like, that's great, sweetie. And I'm like, oh. Like, why don't you love me more? But that's the first thing that I had to learn really quickly, right? Was that those were not the people. And so I think that's what kind of led me towards my first investment, was trying to find my tribe. Like, where were these people? It had to exist. There had to be people out there who were like me, because so much of my life was spent feeling like there was no one like me. Like, let's not go back to high school and grade school, right? Like the entire experience up to this point was, I'm the weird too much person. Right? Like, and I know there's a lot of people out there where it's this duality that exists within us, which is I'm too much and I'm not enough, all at the same time and always in the wrong way. Right. So looking at that, I started, making those first initial investments. And, did I get clarity? Sure. I'm not going to like name bash or anything like that, because there is always value to be had in every investment. It's how you choose to look at it. And it's kind of actually why I started doing what I was doing, because most investments aren't bad. It's just there's a piece missing. And that's the piece I focus on, because when you learn what I do, then you make those other programs actually work better for you. So like, are funnels bad? Absolutely not. I have funnels. I have automation in my business, but it only works because those things amplify what's working in your business.
Right.
And so I looked at each time I make a decision and make those investments in my business, I really look at, is this something that I need to do or someone else needs to do? And if it's something I need to do, how do I learn it as fast as possible? So looking at making those intelligent business decisions now, back then it was, who was someone who believed in me, even if it was a big old lie, right? Because there are a lot of silver-tongued snakes out there. I refer to them a lot of times as bro marketers, right? So their best interest and most, sincerest loving selves show up until you get the credit card number, and then they basically tell you to F off. and they don't deliver, right? And so, yes, we do want to make sales. Sales is great. I like making lots and lots of money because it's a reflection of the impact. It's not just my ability to buy a Lamborghini, right? And so those are the things that I had to learn first was, where do I see someone who's really in integrity, and how are they going to support me? Not just tell me what I need to hear so that I give them the credit card number. So that's who I learned from first in terms of who I went to. And after that, it was really starting to identify what were the missing pieces with me. And one of the people that I absolutely was phenomenal and changed a lot of what I did was Adam Urbanski. So I worked with him for a while, and then learned a lot of things. And then what I realized, I think, along the way was, and I think we do this a lot, which I'm sorry, I'm talking so much, is that when we buy from someone, especially when we haven't really formed ourselves, even though I was a grown ass adult, I hadn't really formed how to communicate the value of what I did. And basically what we do is, and I did this, is I became like a chameleon. I became a mini version, if you will, a copycat of those people while it was a pun, while I was identifying my identity. And so along the way, that was actually one of the biggest barriers for me to be able to make money in my business, was because I was always being a version of someone else. And why would you buy from me when you could buy from them? Because they created it. It's their source. So basically what I started looking at is how I went from those $14,000 years to $14,000 quarters to $100,000 quarters and months and whatever beyond, was by looking at where was I able to stand in my power, and what were the things I needed to release? Because again, I was living out someone else's expectation in my life, and just say this. And when I released doing like sales and maybe funneling or whatever it was, and just stood in generating leads, that's when the shift happened in my business. And so really looking at the people who supported me most often were, I mean, it was my husband, right? I'm really lucky to have that. Like every time I want to make an investment in my business, I just have to say, this is what I want to do. And he's okay with it. And then slowly building that small tribe of people who are going to cheer you on no matter what. And that's a very long-winded answer to that question.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It literally sounds like Corey and I's like exact journey, like exact. I mean, we started out, and there was we decided who we were not going to be by going through other people's stuff. We're like, that's a great learning, and everything we took was a learning. And there was a couple things that we hated. One was like, you get in and they instantly like try to get you into something else. Like, it's not even like you haven't even got the statement yet for the credit card, and they're trying to sell you in the 25K option over here.
Yeah, it's not a low dollar. It's not like a $7 add-on.
No, it's like, hey, this was $100. This one is now 25,000 if you want to be my friend. So so that we said we would never do. And then the other thing we found, and we just felt this was, I'm just going to call it shady because I hated it as well. You buy something for $1,000 to do something, right? Whatever it is. But in 4 weeks, you're supposed to have end product ready to go. Well, they pump you up for week 1, week 2 is awesome. Then week 3, they're like, well, you have to have this stuff in order to do that. Luckily, I did graphics, so we saved, $1,000 right there. And then the next week, where people are trying to, do this next launch thing, they realized it's harder to do the pieces. So now it's another $1,000. And we're like, oh my gosh, people are like getting nickeled and dimed. So we're like, everything we offer is all inclusive. Like, you will leave with everything. Mm-hmm. And so we learned that from going through the bro marketers. like you like to say, I love that. Yeah. There was so much you said there that I loved, that resonated with me. And the whole expectation piece, that spoke to me directly, because I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I'm bad at recovering at it, but I try to be recovering at it. But it's the same thing.
Corey for us, Ron for favors.
right. My mom, like, literally, the story you said about your mom, like, that was my mom all day long. She's like, you need a good job, because I had like the best paying job that I've ever had ever, right? And I go, I'm quitting, and she goes, why? I go, because I hate it. Like, I I don't want to do it. And she goes, well, what are you going to do? I go, well, we're going to live under this really cool box under this bridge I found, because she just doesn't understand what I do. And then when she asks, I tell her, and she's deer in the headlights. And I'm like, I just play games on my computer all day and I get paid to do that. It's fun. And it drives her nuts. That's how I do things. Anyway, so the whole expectation piece, people listening, how did you just get past that? Like, because I know that, I know I'm probably not going to be able to get past that. It's something I always have to continually think about. But how did you get past that?
So I bet when I share this story, Ron, since it sounds like we're, very similar in terms of our experiences, I bet something's going to hit you and you're going to realize that you probably had a very similar moment.
Oh, gosh.
So here we go. Ready to go into the inner depths of our soul and our trauma. So I remember
on the couch, I'm laying down. We're good.
Take a seat, relax. This is so entertaining. All right. Basically, I remember, and I share some of these stories, and a lot of times people tell me, they appreciate that I share them because I am sharing personal stuff. Like this is not just how do I make and add drama to this? So this is one of those stories. And basically, so I was bullied, I was picked on, all this other stuff, and it was horrible and all that stuff. It made me who I am. So there's appreciation in the experience. But I do remember very specifically, and I think I was in 5th grade. I was sitting in the bathrooms in one of the stalls eating my lunch. I mean, and I'm really germophobic, so y'all can tell like the extent to which I did not want to be seen socially and being out there. And I was eating my lunch, and I remember thinking, life can't be like this. This can't be it. This can't be how everything else is going to be, which is how it felt. And so in me, and when I look and think of it back then, it didn't happen in that moment, but when I'm thinking back on it, I felt like there was this light inside me and life just kicked dirt on it, right? And so just pile and pile and pile, but it still was there. And if I looked in the right angle on some of the days and the worst of my days, I could still see a crack of light. And basically through going through this entrepreneurial evolution, if you will, it was been some of the best therapy I could have paid for, because it's helped really shine my bright. I've been able to not only unearth it, but polish it and bring it out and shine it, because what it really does is it makes me the lighthouse for other entrepreneurs out there. And it helps me make sure that they're continuing on their path without hitting the rocks that I may have crashed on and had to patch up. And so that knowing, I think, really lives in people who have that drive. It's what you call a drive, ambition, determination, high achievers. Have that knowingness in them somewhere deep, deep inside, whether they're connected to it or not, that this can be better. Life can be better. And along the way, we can better the world. And that's the thing. And so what really motivates me is I believe in my clients the way someone should have believed in me.
Yeah. And it was 7th grade. It was
I don't want to break the glass desk, but mic drop right there. So
mic drop. We're done. Thanks for coming to the show. We appreciate
it.
Well, no, 7th grade for me. That was 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so funny. Anyway, go ahead, Corey.
No, I mean, this is all amazing, and I love that you're talking about how you are caring for your clients. Like, I mean, Ron and I, we've built our entire business on, like, we get referrals all the time because we take care of people, right? Like, we don't nickel and dime people because we don't believe in that. We find a fair price, not just because we want to make $1 million. Like, we find a fair price because we try to do what's most affordable and allows us to, keep the roof over our heads, right? Like, all the stuff that's for the best of our clients as often as we possibly can. And, but that also goes to, we will tell people not to work with us if they are not ready for the things that they're asking. And so let's transition the conversation a little bit in that sense to Lead Boss, to fully booked.ceo, to one of your topics that I saw was overlooked to fully booked, all this fun stuff. So I don't know where you want to start with those kind of three
cool
things.
phrases, man. Unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like the queen of the one-liners. Like I'm really, really embracing that. Like I've got these zingers, and people like, I always get a lot of great reactions. There's one in particular, and I'll share this one and go ahead and like bust the balloon on it because it kind of set it up this way. So a lot of times one of the things that people come to me for is a place where people get stuck. So my specific process is connect, converse, and close. And so a lot of times, like the concept of connecting with people, if we keep it at the, like, if we look at the iceberg, like superficial level, we can all hit that connection, request button with people who may or may not be our ideal client, but we click it, right? But where people can close. And there's a lot of amazing specialists who talk about all the angles of sales and stuff. And I talk some of it, particularly in the angle of don't sell the way you buy, sell the way that your ideal client wants to buy, and looking at aligning those and identifying the process. And here's the hack, since you guys are all about hacks, is you can actually sell to every single buyer type before the sales call. And you can automate it. So like that's that aspect of things. I know, see, now I got Ron interested. So, but all of that can be done. But where people get stuck is actually in the middle, which is in this place of conversation. And it's what I talk about when I say, how do you go from talking about the weather to whether we should work together? That weather to weather turn of the conversation is where most people get stuck, because especially when you're doing high ticket sales, like you're going to get on the phone for a high ticket sale. I haven't seen or met anyone other than like Oprah and maybe Tony Robbins of people willing to hand over 20, 30, 40, $50 million without getting on the phone with someone.
Right.
We're not there yet, but I'm saying, right, we're going to get on the call with people. And the reason that they get stuck is because they don't want to be sleazy and slimy and pitchy, right? We meet Pitchy Pete on LinkedIn all the time, sliding into the DMs, giving us PTCD, that's post-traumatic connection disorder, and slapping us with a pitch the second we accept connect, right? So how do we show up for people so that we attract more leads? And then once we've kind of started mastering that ability to go door to door, how do we create a firework experience? And what I mean is, how do you basically throw up some fireworks in the middle of the day if you want, have people stop in their tracks and go, that's interesting, and have them pay attention, which is what effective marketing is.
I love that. So attract, don't chase. To simplify it, attract, don't chase.
Actually, exactly, which is why I actually wrote a book that says experts never chase.
There you go.
Look it for me right there.
Once again, we are on the same wavelength. It's kind of creepy. Like the stories we shared before.
Favorite compliment.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. No, and it makes it a fun show. I love that you automate things, and that's one piece that I think people. The other piece, they're just afraid to ask for what they want, and then they don't value themselves truly how they should value themselves. Like Corey and I learned that the hard way. Our very first pitch, we made 3 levels. We always give people options, and they didn't even hesitate and took the highest paid one. And that was our first like real pitch, and we were all excited. And I remember telling Corey, I go, I think we made a mistake. Like nobody, like we've been in business long enough. I've owned businesses. We've both ran businesses. No one does that. I go,
they didn't even talk to each other. Like, let's clarify that. There's partners on.
There's 4 people on there. They didn't talk to each other. They accepted and said, "Let's go."
Yeah.
So I knew there was a problem. Literally at the end, she goes, "I would have paid you 4 times that amount you offered," and my answer was, "I know that. This was just our introductory offer, so you guys can try things. The next time it's going to be a little bit more." And so the next time she came back, it wasn't exactly what she said she'd pay me. It was a little bit less. So she still felt like she got a deal. But we learned that you have to value yourself. And the problem with most entrepreneurs or talent people, it comes easy to them. So there's no value to them because it comes easy. And I feel other people can do this because it comes so easy to me. However, they can't. That's why they hire a who to do that right? And you just have to understand, value yourself, understand what it is, and be okay not getting the sale. Be
So I
okay.
want to add one little comma to that,
Yes.
or asterisk, and I 100% agree. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who love to do this. This is how they get you buying, right? They basically go and you get on a strategy call, right? And they plan out your $1 million business and you get super hyped and they super simplify. And you're like, oh, you just need to close 5 people at $25,000 a month and then do this offer. And then you're at $1 million. And they keep their calm, cool, radio voice going, right? You get super excited and you're like, yeah, it's totally possible. And then like 6 months in, you're like, oh, I made a fucking sale.
Right.
I didn't experience that at all.
Not at all.
So it is valuing yourself, because we've all seen, like, I have offers that I started at like $500 that are now $25,000, right? Is the offer that much different? A little bit, like, let's admit that. My ability to receive between $500 and $25,000 was significant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of and I know because I struggled with this and still do sometimes. Like, I don't want to placate and just be like, yeah, I'm cool, everything's good with me. But if I get some fucking pitches after this, guys, I will ram you. Help me with your mindset. I'm good. All right. I need people to help me. I know where my gaps are. Okay. So, just call it out. Warning. But yeah, in terms of being able to receive, so action-oriented people, doers, people who are like, how do I do it? If I get a blueprint, I will go and activate it. I will implement all that stuff. Now we know that the gap there is actually making the decision versus flirting with it. But our ability to receive is it's that opposite end of the balance, right? So I know that every time someone's like, well, you just need to learn to receive. I'm like, how do you do that? Tell me how. And understanding, and then I hate this because I roll my eyes, but then I also say it is also our ability to release. So in order to receive, we must release, but there's that fear, right? And we have it no matter how close we narrow the gap, because an intelligent entrepreneur is going to mitigate risk, right? Yes, we do things that are risky, but we mitigate it as much as possible. So we bring the risk where we are and where we want to be as close together as possible. But there's always going to be a gap. There's always going to be some level of leap of faith that you have to take. And I know that I've done it, like playing with my kids on the playground. If I have to jump to a certain place, there's that tingly body, stomach dropping kind of sensation. You're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I know it's only 2 feet, but I haven't jumped in a while.
Right.
You still have to do it.
Yeah.
It's the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The bridge is there. It's just, do you have the perspective to see it? And changing your perspective and using the tools around you. He used dirt to be able to validate that there was actually a bridge there. But there was still that moment where he had that doubt, right? And he landed. And that's what we have to do, is just have the faith that we've built skill sets over time that will land. And even if we land on our face, we can still get up because we have that skill set too.
Right.
Absolutely. So
that's called a soapbox right there.
Yes,
I'm known for those.
It was good.
So how do we get people to truly have that faith, to truly, get to that point where the fear is, it's okay. Let's take that step on, put the dirt on it, right? And take the step. What's the magic trick?
Just one word. It's confidence. And it's sometimes and I remember I had my clients say this to me, and when they said it to me, because our clients will reveal our superpowers to us over time, right? And it's the things we dismiss, just like you were talking about, Corey. And one of the things that they said once, and it's always stuck with me, is, you let us borrow your confidence in us until we build our own. Ooh. I have so much confidence in my clients' ability to succeed because I qualify them. I work with the right people. I'm not just working with everybody, but I believe in them so much. That's what I was talking about in terms of, I believe in them the way that, one, they should believe in themselves, but in the way that someone should have believed in them so that they could believe in themselves. And I believe in them. And because I am not attached by their fears, I'm not attached to their limitations. I am only attached to the desired result that they can achieve. It's all within the realm of possibility. It's that light. I see their light. Even though there might be dirt on it, even though it might be tarnished, even though they might think it's good patina, it's not, right? they have the ability. And so because I can believe in them so strongly, it almost creates undeniable evidence that it is absolutely possible for them to achieve. Because we know as entrepreneurs, we love to dismiss all of the evidence that demonstrates that we're capable and look for the evidence that, oh, see right there, that's why I can't do it. Right, that one little ladybug on that tree is the reason why I can't grow an entire garden. I'm done. Right? Instead of looking at the harvest that we've already consumed and created. This is a decent analogy. Right? And dismissing all of that, our stores of food that we already have, right? We are plentiful, we are bountiful, we are capable, but it all starts with our belief in ourselves, which increases with confidence. That's what connects us to the possibility.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you believe in them so much they can borrow your confidence in them until they get there. That's just powerful. Holy smokes, I love that. I love that. All right. So I'm gonna go back a little bit.
And I have to take notes too, being like, hold on, what's something gonna say?
Yeah, I know. There's so much.
There's good stuff.
This is good stuff. I'm enjoying every part of the conversation.
The problem is when we don't take notes because there's not enough things to take notes on.
Yeah, this is a good problem there. All right. You talked about you made an investment when you didn't know you can make an investment. Or you didn't think you could make an investment, and that changed your whole business. Changed everything. What was the investment in?
It was it's a $6,000 investment. It's not that anymore. But you know, when you're racked with $30,000 in debt and $90,000.
Hey, it's a good number. That's a good number. Yeah.
It's a good number.
Yeah.
And you know, you got a mortgage and you've got 2 kids, right? And I didn't have my 3rd one at the time. And you're looking at, you know, I got to keep working in this position that just doesn't do everything for me. You know, you're just kind of really looking at the hill getting higher and higher and becoming a mountain.
Right.
I remember I sat down with my husband. I said, this is something I want. We went out to dinner. We were already going out to dinner. I wasn't planning on buying. I was gonna fucking do it on my own, right? I had made all these investments. I was gonna work it.
Right.
But I knew deep down inside there was still something missing. And I was tired of feeling like it was me.
Yeah.
I was tired of being told, well, it's working for other people. You just gotta try again. And that's not like what?
It must be your offer.
Yeah, it must be my offer. Well, you know what? Part of it was in my ability to communicate the value of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Mm-hmm. It was my ability in having a consistent message. It was my ability to go out there and actually be consistent. Like, let's talk about that motherfucker of a boulder in the way of people's success. Sorry.
Consistency.
Like, complete me.
Talk about that all the
consistency. No, that's our thing all day long. Because people will start a podcast because we help people launch podcasts and do podcasts. And they're like, I'm going to do what you guys do 5 days a week. How about no? The answer is no. Don't do that because you don't know what that takes. Do 1 a week, get months ahead, grow your business, and guess what? Still do once a week. That's all you need. Just focus on your impact that you're trying to do. Don't add until you get way ahead and you want to.
I love what you just said because it has everything to do with like the business model. There are so many times people think that there's like the membership site and then high ticket sales. Like that seems like that's the duality of like the things that exist. And there's so much in between. And a lot of what people don't understand is that you do belong in your business basically at the beginning. And everything else is all about your clients. So you belong at the beginning, meaning you have to know who you are, who your expertise is, and what kind of business is going to support your lifestyle. Because I see so many people hustling and grinding and wearing it like a badge of honor. Like, I'm sorry, if you're going to talk to me about hustle and grind, keep moving. Like, I don't want none of that energy in my life. Thank you very much. Done it, been there, don't want it anymore, right? Like, we'll delegate and automate the hell out of stuff. But really looking at, are you building a business that supports your lifestyle? Like, you know, people don't all want a Fortune 100 business. Having a boutique business where it's high touch, high delivery, and high ticket is absolutely incredible and is perfectly fine and absolutely acceptable to have as a business vision. There are plenty of people making $1 million, $2 million a year as a boutique company, meaning it's them and a couple people. That's it.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be hard unless you decide that that's how you want to live.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, I mean, for me, that's how I live my life. Even like as an employee, I was like, the harder I work, the better I'll be. Like the more promotions I get, and the more harder I work, and then the more travel I get, and all this stuff I wanted. And it's like, wait a minute, I got this family over here. I'm not even around. Like, come on, I gotta switch things up. And that's what led me to meeting Ron, as kind of that whole process. And so, we are very conscious of be mindful of where you want to get, and then work backwards a little bit. Right. And so for those, like Ron was talking about, that want to do a podcast 2, 3, 5 days a week, we're like, well, let's make sure you can be consistent with the first, and figure out how does that fit in. And then if you want to up it, great. Right. But then how can you fit it in with other stuff you're already doing? Right. Like try to get it all to work in synergy.
So I like giving people a reason why being consistent works. Because a lot of people talk about, you need to be consistent. People are like, yeah, sure, I get it. Consistency is the ultimate risk reversal. That's what people don't talk about. Why do you need to be consistent? Because it takes risk off the table. If you are consistent for yourself and in your business, that's how you're going to show up for that person, that client you're going to work with. If you give people a reason to not buy from you, such as not being consistent, which is one of the most obvious ones, then you're leaving a ton of leads and opportunity on the table. Right? That the consistency is the thread that you're weaving throughout your entire business. If that thread breaks, your whole business breaks. Now, there are times where you can put stuff on, you can automate stuff. You can absolutely repeat and repurpose and re-leverage content. Please make it easier on yourself. I like talking about putting strategic effort into your business to create the ease. Like you guys are talking about with podcasting, create a bunch of episodes, right? Because you're excited, you're ready to go. You're going to go out and book people. Use that energy and that vim and that vigor to get stuff. And then you're going to kind of like burn out a little bit, because that's how humans are. And so now you don't have to worry about that, because you've created a backlog, you've created space. That's how you use your natural energetic cycles to put that effort into creating the ease in your business. So if COVID happens and you can't work for 3 weeks because you have 3 kids under the age of 7 in your house for 3 weeks without any help whatsoever, and you can't do anything in your business, this isn't personal at all. No one knows, and it doesn't miss a beat because you got ahead of stuff.
Yep. Definitely. It's
I'm going to keep that recording, and we're just going to play that little
over and over.
Over and over to people. Don't trust us. Listen to Cat.
Trust Cat. All right. So, hindsight hacking, we got to talk about hindsight a little bit. I want to kind of relate it to where you ended up in your business with being the lead boss, and really focused on that piece. Because A, we need to talk about that next, but B, I just want to hear, like, what's the story that solidified you in what you do now? What's the learning that you had and you're like, oh, I would have learned that a little bit sooner? It would have, what was that hindsight that you have to share?
I learned it when I needed to learn it. I will definitely say that. And I think that there is a time and place for learning this lesson. I don't know that learning this earlier on would have, sorry, a little bit earlier on, sure, but not like when I was in grade school or something like that. And the lesson that I really learned, and wish I had learned a little bit sooner, and I think it was always there, but it was really embracing the power of it, was stop trying to improve your weaknesses. Lean in and completely embrace your strengths. It's exactly what was the pivotal moment when I was in my corporate career, where I went from kind of not doing great at a bunch of stuff, doing okay, to just really getting promoted consistently, getting raises, getting recognized, getting awards, actually being able to create space in my day. Like I was in a consulting is not like a 9 to 5, but really being able to say no and I was consulting with hair like this in the professional environment. That just doesn't happen unless you have some clout, right?
Right.
So that clout started being built when I started saying no, but yes to the right opportunities, right? Because they align to my strengths, and finding the people that could support me and kind of bolster me up. And then basically what I did was, it wasn't just me, it was my team that became a powerhouse, because I checked in with them and said, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you want to do more of? Sure, there's some administrative stuff we're all going to have to do from time to time, but how do we keep doing more of the work that we love and then valuing that at the highest level that we're supposed to? That was like the next level lesson.
That is brilliant. Like I've used that to help teams build, like team building pieces. It's like surround yourself with a bunch of people that can do things you can't do, and let's just really focus on what people do well, and the team will explode, right? But I've never like put it on myself like that. That's interesting. I'm going to take notes on that one. All right. So you have this amazing program, right? Talk to us about that. I know there's people listening that are like, hey, that A sounds like me a lot. B, that's weird that they're following me around and it sounds like me. So that's weird. But I want to understand how I can get unstuck and how I can move forward. Talk to us a little bit more about the actual program and how you help people.
Sure. So everything that I do comes back to my system. It lives and breathes within this certain organic environment, if you will. And it has everything to do with connecting, conversing, and closing. And so all of those are just absolutely weaved through everything I do. It's about every piece of content either goes deep or broader within those three pillars, if you will. So everything I do relates to that, whether it's working with someone or whether it's, content that I put out, speaking opportunities, all that stuff. And so really I have two main ways that I work with people. One, it's in my group program. It's a 90-day, a revenue accelerator. And it's really about creating the system. So yeah, there's stuff that you're doing, but predictability and consistency isn't luck. If you're in a place where you're still dismissing your abilities to generate revenue to luck of someone was in a good mood, or I'm not too sure how I did that, it's a little bit of that slap upside the head and be like, no, you did do it. You did it on purpose, and there's a mechanism for you to be able to repeat that success. So that's really kind of the focus of the 90-day, is to really create, build, opt, and start looking at how we start optimizing it. Then I do have a mastermind, and I'm very, very selective as to who goes into that. One, it has to be personality fit, because this can be a lot. It's the perfect amount for some people, and actually a lot of people, if you will. Right. And really looks at how do we start leveraging our time more effectively in our business. So yes, there's a system. Yes, there's a mechanism to create success. And we are not always a person that has to do all the aspects of things. And how do we start getting our business in a place where you can start narrowing your focus, narrowing the amount of time you work in your business to actually increase your revenue. So most times it's, revenue, time. And how do we start decreasing the time and increasing the revenue? It's about building the systems, the processes, and the people around you to be able to do that. And so looking at what are those things, because they're like little things that I like challenging people on, which is you're not the only person that has to sell in your business. You're not the only person that has to market for you. So, there's ways of leveraging things into creating that ease if you put that strategic effort in. So those are kind of the two levels. And I have a course, but I have the course because I have a course. Like the reality is that, 3 or 5% of courses actually get completed.
Right.
So it's kind of like if you are someone who is really the go-getter and you're independent and you are actually going to fulfill and you complete every single course and you achieve success from those courses, there it is. Right. But at the end of the day, most times is people want my brain on their business because that's what's going to break through those barriers and get you to that other cross the finish line experience.
Love it.
Awesome. So talk to us a little bit about the marketing that you do for that. Obviously, you have a podcast, you have some cool websites. How do you get the traffic to them? What's I think you got YouTube. I haven't checked it out, but you have a YouTube station. I failed on that. Revenue accelerator. I'm going to the audio first, people. Like, come on, podcast. Ron's going to YouTube. He's going to
I got the graphics.
Yeah, Ron
will be hard graphics.
So yeah, talk to us about all that stuff.
Mind-blowing answer to that. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
I use my process to sell my process.
Pin drop.
Time we're done today.
No, but that's so true. Like literally, it was funny because I've said this and I actually got yelled at. I don't remember who I got yelled at for diminishing our podcast. No, it wasn't you. I've said this for 2 years now. Corey and I left 2 six-figure a year jobs because of a silly little podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, you got to stop saying it's a silly little podcast. I'm like, have you listened to the show? It's kind of silly. I think that's an accurate statement. But they're like, no, you've done this, and people are trying to do it. And I was like, yeah, but we've just followed our own rules of how we did it, and all of a sudden we were everywhere, right? And did that take more time? No, it was less time, but the planning took more time. So we planned more, and then we executed. So you said something a long time ago in our interview was understand, learn, and execute. I wrote the execute. You said something else, but I didn't write it as fast. And I was like, that's a word that I know. We'll use execute. So it's the exact same thing where you understood something, you learned it, and then you actually took the steps to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where most people get stuck, is in the flirtatious area, right? They're like, yeah, it's really cool, I'm going to do this thing. And like 6 months later, it's still not happening. And I mean, it's why you download. So if you're like, that's not me, bullshit, it's all of us.
Right.
If you have free lead magnets that are in your folder, that's like other people's lead magnets or free lead magnets or whatever it is, and you haven't read it, guess what? You're not implementing. It's a big fat thing in your face there, Corey. Right. Ron. I see the C, and then it keeps making me call you Corey. I'm sure you guys get that all the time.
Right.
Looking at you. It's human nature. It's almost like a self-preservation thing. Actually, it's ego, right? And it's not wrong. It's just, there's something there that's triggering you, and you're looking at it and it becomes maybe unsafe. And so a lot of times it's really getting clear. I love that you talked about spending more time planning, because a lot of people just want to get into doing, but then they make a big old mess. It's actually, it's like when I'm with my toddler and we're cooking, right? Which is rare because I am a little bit of a control freak. Don't mix that, don't break that. Okay, it's hard. It's really, but what's easier for her? If I lay out all the ingredients and leave them on the counter, or if I take, so that's effort number one, right? Is I'm just going to take everything out and I'm going to put it on the counter. And it feels like a mess because I'm pulling everything out and not putting it back up. Or what if I took the thing and I measured the 1 teaspoon of salt, right? And I had that there ready for her. And then I did the same thing with the baking soda and and then I kept putting things back as I used them. Which one gets us to the end product faster? I mean, truly at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But the thing is that we're making something, we're cooking it, we're tasting it, and then we're building upon it. And so many people stop with just the big mess that they've made, and they kind of take everything and throw it in the trash. And what kind of investment waste is that in terms of time, money, possibility?
Yeah. Yeah. So one last question for me today, Kat. And first of all, thank you. You've been fun and amazing. And I'm sure people will hit the show notes here shortly to head on over to all your fun links that we'll put there. But I don't know, Ron and I, we fully believe and teach done is better than perfect, right? Like we the action is better than the inaction, but you still have to take that time to plan, and you still have to take the proper steps to make sure that the things that you're doing are worthwhile. But I remember when Ron and I first started in the online space, we're like, oh, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that. And we didn't have the focus. We didn't have the exact idea of exactly how we plan to serve this community. And we kept starting and stopping and starting and stopping and really not truly getting anywhere. And I remember we had the conversation and it's like, the whole niche down, and we're like, how is that going to help us? You limit the people you can serve, right? But the moment we did it was the moment we started blowing up. And so yes, we fully believe in it, but I'd love to hear your take on that and the whole, like, how do you get people to really figure out who they serve, what they're doing? I assume maybe they already know this by the time they work with you, but kind of what's your take on all that?
So I love niching to a certain extent. And I kind of take a different view than probably what's the standard books and things like that in terms of the recommendation, which is when someone asks me to niche down, I'm kind of a little bit of a rebel. Couldn't tell. Hate when people tell me what to do. It's like, I really have to take a lot for me to be like, I might be like, and then I go and do something completely different on my own. But I tend to want to look and so I niched a certain level, right? So yes, absolutely. And then for me, it's an energetic connection. So a lot of times when people are like, I can't find my people online, I'm like, well, one, you're probably in a lack mindset, right? Because if you think there's only so many people you can work with, then that becomes your reality. And what you think is what you receive. So your ability to expand and get into an abundance mindset, like, and that's a whole other kind of conversation I'm sure that you guys have talked to many people about.
Maybe.
But to stay specific to this, let me give some actual tactical things that people can do, because I haven't done enough of that yet. And so what do people think of, right? They look at the demographics. How much money does someone make? What's their title? Where are they located? How many employees do they have? What's their, whatever their revenue versus the annual revenue, all this other stuff that is searchable. But how do you find someone energetically, right? How do you know that you're going to like this person? That comes down to values, right? So what are your values? What are my values? Our values, like one of the big ones that we three have in common is family. Right? Time is another value. Impact is another value that we have. Humor is, all of these are things that I can't search online, or can I? What I want people to do is actually open up LinkedIn, because I work on LinkedIn and Facebook mostly. I've got Instagram and all this other stuff, but those are my two main platforms. And so the strategies that I teach and train people on work across platforms because it's based off of a human interaction. And so the platform is just a conduit to the conversation. Need to write that one down. Yeah. So, right. So it doesn't really matter what platform you're on. You want to make sure your clients are on there, right? That's the most important thing. So open up LinkedIn, right? Which is where a lot of people like to play, especially this day and age. And you're going to be able to find the demographics, but they show up a certain way on LinkedIn and a different way on Facebook.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, Ron, your kid pictures are not on LinkedIn. So I can't tell that you're a family guy, that you like humor, that you're silly. Told you, Corey, I didn't do enough research on you, but I know you never run it. So like next episode, it's all going to be about Corey. Yes. But if I open Facebook on your basic profile, there's so much data about who you are as a human being. And so if I take that list of this person kind of looks like my ideal client, but then I add on the aspects where I can see the values, then that list becomes shorter, but it becomes better qualified. Mm-hmm. So I can do a ton of qualifying before ever engaging or interacting with someone, not wasting their time, and most importantly, honestly, not wasting mine. Mm-hmm. Because if you just go by demographics, I will tell you, someone who lives in the same country, the same age, same relative income status, same ethnicity, and I think the same hair color, who would you get? Ozzy Osbourne and Prince Charles. You want
True. Yeah.
Different values.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not all about like biting pigeon heads, like you may want to go with the other guy. If that's your deal, then, you got your man, and it's a very niche market. But really taking that, and that's another example of strategic effort into creating the ease. So I'm not bogging my entire pipeline and, conversation load, right, with people who are never going to be aligned energetically with me and that I am not going to want to work with.
Yeah, that was powerful, because Corey and I just recently had to let go of some clients that just didn't fit like the vibe of, we believe there's more than just making money, right? You have to want to create an impact for your tribe, and then we'll help you all day long. Like, no problem. But if you're in it just for the money, like, we are just not your people. Like that, we don't want to surround ourselves with those kinds of people, because then guess what? You start to become those kinds of people.
And you attract more and more in the audience is like, oh, is this who they really work with? I mean, let people bro out somewhere else.
Yes. So no, I love that. And I know people are listening, and Corey already said, thanks so much for being here. I have to echo that. It's been a phenomenal conversation. And I know this is just the beginning of our connecting, but for people that are listening, they're like, I want to get involved with her. Where can they go? How can they find you?
Well, I always like to stack the wins before someone ever, wants to. I was going to say something really weird, and I happened to catch it. Usually I don't. I was like, we're not going to say that. So I like to stack the wins. That was really solid filtering. I mean, it was
good. Watch, it was positive. Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw it. It was good.
Oh, it's hold on. Let me not say that.
Right.
It was just not going to paint a good color. Anyway, so I like to stack the wins before people ever, I was going to say it again, ever want to engage with me in any kind of way, shape, or form. So yeah, anyway. So basically what I want to provide is like, is there any editing? I usually don't edit my stuff.
No, you're kind of, this is it. This is it
There's
right here.
that, like that cough that Ron and you had earlier. We'll probably edit those
We'll
out.
probably take that out, but that's about it. We don't edit that much.
All right. So what I want you to go is go check it out. Go see if, I am everything that I'm talking about. So at fullybooked.ceo, what you get is instant access to a 3-part training series. And what I give you access to is, one, how to generate and structure your hour of lead gen a day. That's what I ask people to do, to build a system and to maintain it in an hour or less a day. Now, so I show you all of how to structure that. What are the activities that go into doing those lead gen activities? The second thing I provide you is you're already connected to your next 100K, meaning without adding a single new person to your pipeline, you are probably already connected to $100,000. And I don't mean it has to happen in the next year or 2 or 10. It can happen in the next quarter, the next month, the next week. That's on you, right? But here, and it depends on your offer, right? So if you've got $1,000 offer, you sell 100, that's not impossible math. So anyway, and you're connected to more than 100 people, right? So that's why we look at the quality over the quantity. And so this is social media swipe that you can leverage right now to help some of those people raise their hands to want to work with you. And so what is that content, right, that you're helping to put out there that helps people raise their hand? Because we want to be strategic with our content, because it's how we have thousands of conversations a day without ever having to always open up our Zoom link, right? So, and that's a whole other area that I talk about in terms of the 4 P's that go into that. All right. And then the third piece is actually my close script. It's the one that I use. It's one that my clients use. And it's how we have 80 to 90% close rate. And remember, these are templates. You have to infuse your personality, who you are and how you show up in the world. If you read off the things that are there, first of all, there's brackets. So if you copy and paste and says insert pain point here, people are going to know.
You cannot say that.
Right.
Pro tip.
Right. Let's not do that. But we look at how do we use the structure to create the momentum, because a lot of times what people are doing is they're creating movement in their business. Sure, you're keeping busy, you're doing things, I get it. But is it creating the momentum that you're wanting in your business? And if it's not, then you're probably making it harder than it needs to be. So you can check it out, fullybooked.ceo.
Well, I just subscribed, so we'll see. Maybe Ron and I can do a recap of the training after we go through 3 parts.
Most do it.
We'll check it out. So, thanks so much again, Kat. It's been fun, and we'll give a public shout out to Chris Baden, because I'm pretty sure he's the one that connected us to have this conversation in the first place. So anyway, again, thanks, and we'll be talking soon. I have a feeling.
Yes.
So, thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
All right, Ron, we've got a couple takeaways. I know we are both feverishly taking notes today. So, I hope you have 1 or 2 to share, because if you don't, I got you covered.
I got some heavy ones. So I was going back and forth if I was going to do heavy or not, but I'm gonna. You have to live up to your own expectations, not other people's expectations. Right. And that's hard, especially if you're going to the wrong people for advice, like she was talking about, right? Like if you're going to your parents, or, you and I, like we're blessed that we have spouses that support us, right? And that was one of the conversations we had before we decided to say, honey, I know you like eating and like living in a house. I'm going to quit my job. What do you think? Right. So we had to set the expectations of what it's going to be. And I said, the worst thing that can happen, the worst thing is I have to go find another job. That's the worst thing. It's not like I'm going to make it so you have to eat cardboard. Like, we'll be okay. Like, we're going to be good. The other piece, gosh, I'm going back and forth here. I'm going back and forth.
Instant. You got to choose.
You're enough. You're enough. Where you are right now, you're enough to get started to do what you're called to do. Believe in yourself, because you're enough. And then when you get to the next stage of your life, guess what? You're going to have all those same feelings, but you're still enough, because you're now ready to take that next step. You're enough.
I think with those 2 heavy ones, like I feel like mine are too surface. I can't even share them. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you and I believe fully in we get on a Zoom call as often as necessary. If a client needs us, they get a hold of us, right? Like and specifically you, we've been told that we're too accessible to everybody. But at the end of the day,
I answer emails at weird times of the day.
but we do that for a reason, right? Like
Right.
we want to take care of our clients. We expect them to give us referrals because of how we take care of them, right?
Right.
And so, but if you go back to the connect, converse, and close, and even the other piece to that, which is, another one-liner from Cat talking about the weather to whether you're working together, right? Like
I love that.
those things.
She has cool things to say.
I know, like that's a whole nother thing. We could do a show on Cat's one-liners,
Yes.
but having the ability to have real conversations, right? Having the ability to have real conversations, and that's why we get on as many calls as we can, because we don't have the cookie cutter, like, oh, it's always $500. Like, yeah, you can go to gethhm.com/editing and see our editing package. Simple is, what, $397 or something like that. But like everything else, when we talk about all the things we do for the podcast world, it's specific to that client. It's specific to their needs, because we have real conversations and we can figure out exactly what they need that fits in with what we can solve, what problem we can solve for them. So I hope everyone can hear that. Find a way to be real and connect with people. And then, as Kat was talking, you'll be able to close before you ever get to the close, right? So, all right, that's all I got today. That's I hope everyone out there knows what a pleasure it was to talk to Kat. And because of that, they're going to need to go check out a YouTube channel before me, because I've yet to do it, right? So you all got to go to Kat's YouTube and find her, watch her, or if you can be like me, you can go to Revenue Accelerator on the podcast platform and listen. And, there's some good stuff out there. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Did you know that Hindsight HacKing Media Agency, we do all things podcast from launch? If you're already doing 10,000 downloads in a week, we handle everything. All you have to do, record it and forget it.
Guys, if you're launching a podcast, get with these guys. I could not honestly hit the charts without them.
I'm not getting paid for this, but working with both of you, the professionalism and the system that you guys had to launch the podcast, you guys killed it.
We want to help the impactors create an impact by just letting you be you and not worry about all this other crazy stuff. Connect with us. All the links will be in the show notes. See you next time. Go create an impact.